Begin with a South Florida congressman's take on President Joe Biden's plan to expand the social safety net. The proposed $3.5 trillion bill would fundamentally change the social safety net. It's considered the most ambitious expansion since the war on poverty in the 1960s. The proposal would expand health care, provide for free preschool, and fund climate change programs.
But most Republicans and some moderate Democrats worry that Mr. Biden's big plan is too sweeping, too expensive, too close to socialism. It would be funded by hiking taxes on the wealthy and on corporations. That is a heavy lift. The same objections could also derail a bipartisan infrastructure plan that was narrowly approved in the Senate. It is awaiting a vote in the House of Representatives. Representative Ted Deutch is a member of the House, a Democrat from Boca Raton, represents the 22nd Congressional District, parts of Broward and Palm Beach counties. Congressman, good morning. Great to see you. Thanks for being on the show with us.
It's great to be with you. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Congressman, would you please explain where you stand here on this $3.5 trillion plan to expand the social safety net? I mean, as you know, Republicans say, hey, this is pure and simple socialism. How do you see it?
Sure. Well, I think you need to first look at the bipartisan $1.5 trillion infrastructure plan and view them together. And here's why, Michael. It's been decades, 3 decades at least, that we've been saying we need to invest in our bridges and our ports. We need to make sure that we're competing globally with our infrastructure. And that passed in the Senate in a bipartisan fashion. The same thing will happen in the House. And it's important. But what it tells us is we're 30 years in, and look at the situation we have in South Florida when it comes to climate change and sea level rise. Look at the situation we have around the country and so many of the issues that are in the other bill. We don't have 30 more years to wait before we address climate change. The summer will tell you that. You look at the storms in Louisiana and New Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania and Tennessee and the hurricanes and the wildfires. We don't have 30 years to wait on educating our kids and providing universal pre-K. We're falling further behind the rest of the world. We can't wait decades to ensure that Medicaid coverage is available. I just want to make this last point. When we look at this, it's not about whether or not we can afford to do it. We can, and I hope we talk about how we're going to pay for it, which we will. It's about whether we can afford to wait decades more and have America fall behind the rest of the world when we should be working to compete against them.
Congressman, it's Christina Vasquez here. Thank you again for joining us. I hear you use this language of they want to be viewed together, but we already know there's centrists within the party of Kristen Sinema out of Arizona, you have Manchin out of West Virginia, who have already stated they wouldn't back that broader social spending package. You do have bipartisan support right now for the slimmer, and by slimmer, we're still talking $1 trillion infrastructure package. We're talking roads and bridges and broadband. We know, broadly speaking, that investments in infrastructure are something that are supported by the public. And so my question to you is, at this point, strategically, does it make some more sense to, you got this coming out of the Senate, to do that House vote on the infrastructure bill, get that onto President Biden's desk so it gets signed and those funds are released for those critical infrastructure improvements, instead of this 2-track system where it might be caught in some quagmire with the broader bill that doesn't seem to have not only a lot of support from Republicans, but even some centrists within your own party?
Sure, and it's an important question, and just a couple of ways to respond. First of all, these 2 bills are going to be voted on. We're moving forward on the broader package. We're going to vote on both of them very soon. And secondly, I saw Senator Manchin this morning on TV in an interview acknowledge that the things that are in the larger bill are all important. And I'm confident that we're going to move forward on them because, as I said, I think people understand that we can't wait any longer to act on climate change, and we can't wait any longer on these other issues. Universal pre-K is socialism. That's what my Republicans want to argue. Do they argue also that our public education system is socialism? I mean, if we can provide for our kids at the earliest moments in their education, we set them up for success in our country. We set them up to succeed globally. We're going to move forward on both of these because they're both so important to the future of our country.
Yeah, Congressman, let's move on to COVID-19. On
Sure.
Thursday evening, the president unveiled the sweeping plan that would dictate he wants to mandate that companies with 100 or more employees, all the federal agencies under his control, that everyone involved in those must get vaccinated or get tested twice a week. And the Republican outcry has been loud, and you know, they are saying this is a kind of intrusion into the private lives and medical decisions that government should not do. Is the president right, or what do you say to these Republican critics?
Well, first of all, starting with the governor, I would suggest that the governor take a look at his own Department of Health website, which lists the vaccines that are required for kids to attend public school in the state of Florida. It is just not right to suggest that this is an issue that can simply be left for people to decide that in the middle of a pandemic, their decisions that impact all of the people around them should be left completely up to them. But that's not what, Michael, that's not why the president had to act. The president had to act because Governor DeSantis is the one who has told business owners in our state that if they take action, business owners that he claims to want to protect, if they take action to protect their own employees and their customers because they think it's important to require vaccines, which is the best step for us to take to get through this pandemic. Let me just finish. But he's going to fine them for acting in what they believe is their own best interest. So in effect, the governor is in large part responsible for forcing action because he's trying to prevent people from acting reasonably to save lives.
Yeah, well, let me jump in and just simply say the governor obviously tried to do that with the cruise lines, and the courts upheld the cruise lines. The cruise lines can, in fact, now demand that all the passengers be vaccinated to show proof of vaccination. So there are other avenues that can be taken. But back to the conflicts with the school districts. In your county, you live in Boca Raton, Broward County, Miami-Dade County, the school boards are defying the governor, 13 school boards in all in the state, and are saying we're going to still send our kids to school wearing masks, no matter what the court says. Are they defying the law, or are they reading the law the right way?
Look, the question is why. The only reason we're in this position is because the governor's decided that it's better to allow his politics lead school boards to have to consider whether to sue to protect their kids or not. That's such a terrible position to be in. There are more kids who have died in Florida from COVID-19 since the beginning of August than there were in the entire pandemic beforehand. There are thousands of kids in our school districts and hundreds of teachers in our school districts in South Florida who have contracted COVID. So many more have had to quarantine and leave school. It's a disruption. School districts should be able to do what they believe is in the best interest of the community, of the kids, of the teachers. And I don't understand, especially as we're marking 20 years since 9/11, when the country came together to stand up and combat a shared threat that we all had, why it is that the governor of our state continues to use this moment to fight against efforts that should bring us together. Simply ensuring that people wear masks and get vaccinated so that we can get through this and get back to a sense of normalcy.
Congressman, we just have a few seconds left, but when it comes to this discussion of masks in schools, it's such a fluid conversation right now. We have an appeals court on Friday siding with the governor that essentially reverses a Leon County judge's order siding with parents that challenged the governor's order in court. We have a Department of Education launching an investigation. But what I wanted to talk to you about is this recent announcement with the Biden administration trying to create federal funding to help school districts that decided to uphold best practices in case mitigation as recommended by the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and have masks in schools. How does that grant program exactly work? When can districts apply? Where's the funding coming from? And will it last an entire academic school year?
Sure. Well, we're working to get all of that information to our local school districts. But if I may, the fact that we're at this moment again, when the the rights of the overwhelming majority of people who send their kids to school and the kids who are in school to be safe in school and to not be exposed to COVID so that they don't have to miss school or get sick, those are the rights that are being ignored. And we'll figure out. I don't know that the governor really wants to spend the entire year at war with school boards and parents over whether or not we should be keeping our kids safe. So I don't know that we're even going to get to that point. But for now, I just wish that we could acknowledge that we can act together by taking basic steps. Let's get people vaccinated. Let's wear masks and let's get through this together. That's what we ought to be doing. And I just wish that the governor would stop fighting and start working with all of us who want to help accomplish that.
Yeah, Congressman Ted Deutch, good to speak with you as always. Many thanks for your time on this Sunday.
My pleasure. It's great to be with both of you.
Thank you for being here.